Camarillo, California. Thanks for waiting. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm a retired physician, and as Walter Williams calls himself, a kind of wishy-washy libertarian. I get hung up, however, on the beginnings of World War II, and whether we should have just let Hitler conquer Great Britain.
Well, I don't think you ever had to make that choice. I think the choice was, the only choice we had to make in Europe was, should we join an authoritarian thug like Hitler, or should we join an authoritarian thug like Stalin? That was the whole choice. So we made the choice because it was much more popular at the time to join the authoritarian thug Stalin and give him Eastern Europe and prolong the agony for another 50 years before it was inevitable that we would see the failure of socialism and communism and see what happened last year. So I don't think that's the choice at all. We as libertarians say that the real choice is not joining and fighting with a thug, but joining and by becoming neutral, saying that unless we're threatened, we don't get involved. And the popular opinion in the late 1930s and even in 1940, 70–80% of the American people were opposed to going to war. Roosevelt, how did he get reelected in 40? By saying, I'm going to keep your boys at home. And then immediately something had to happen in order to congeal the American people, and obviously that was Pearl Harbor. Now, this does not mean that we should be unconcerned. This does not mean that we can't condemn Hussein and condemn Hitler and condemn Stalin, but it means that as a libertarian and by close observance of the Constitution, we allow people to handle this problem differently. That means that you as an individual in World War II could have gone and helped, or you could have sent your money. And right now, if you would like to send your sons or send your money to Saudi Arabia to help out, fine. But we just don't believe that the armed might and the authoritarianism of our own government should be used to support and sponsor authoritarianism and dictatorship around the world.
Dayton, Ohio. Go ahead. You're next.
Thank you, Mr. Maddox. Good evening, Dr. Paul.
Good evening.
I met you a few years ago in September 1988 in Cleveland. I was the one that came all the way from Dayton to see you.
Oh, I remember.
All right. Sir, would you be of the mind that what has been occurring recently, such as the economy slipping, the recent aggression of our self-anointed, self-appointed autocrat, and a number of other things, the cry for a resumption of conscription and the like, might not be precipitating a police state? I mean, a thoroughgoing, hardcore, bread and butter, apple pie and mom, American-style police state. And I would like to make the comment that at the close of his brilliant essay, let's see, The Rise of Empire, the late Garrett made the comment, no doubt the people know they can have their republic back if they wanted enough to fight for it and to pay the price. The only point is that no leader has yet appeared with courage to make them choose. I believe that you are that titan who will make them choose.
Well, thank you. I think we're getting dangerously close to a police state. During wartime, especially if you have a monster out there to conquer, the American people come together, and they're by nature, they want to be together, they want to be American, but what they don't understand is being patriotic and being American and being pro-constitutional might mean that you don't have to go and become a police state. But under those wartime conditions, people are much more likely to sacrifice their freedoms. And there's only one other time that comes close to war where people sacrifice their freedoms, and that's times of economic turmoil. And we're approaching that too. We already have an IRS, an FBI, a CIA, and an umpteen number of agencies that police us up and down. The banking regulations now provide no financial privacy anymore. I mean, they talk about the right to privacy. Well, that's what all freedom is all about, is privacy. And yet there is no privacy now in banking. And that's because the government needs our money, and they want to know what we're doing with our money. So we're on the verge of it. The underpinnings have already been destroyed. The American people are set up. I mean, they want to go to war at the drop of a pin, and they're willing to sacrifice their freedoms because they think they might be a little more secure. My argument is that they're going to be a lot less secure, internationally speaking as well as economically speaking, if they're not careful and they don't put their foot down and say, no, we've had enough, we don't want more big government.
Waterloo, Iowa. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you, Ed. Good evening, Dr. Paul.
Good evening.
I have great respect for you. I've often wished you would have stumbled and upset in the '88 election. My comment and question deals with the hemp issue. With Saddam Hussein invading Kuwait and threatening Saudi Arabia, what he's mostly after is the oil in that area. And from hemp, we can make virtually all the fuel that we need, and we can grow it every year. And it's also makes better paper, and it's more easily recyclable, and just in general, it's the most biomass productive plant on the planet. And I'm wondering if there's anything we can do to get the government to quit this insane policy of keeping this plant illegal.
What else can we do? Tell the audience what else we can do with hemp.
Well, there's all kinds of things.
Well, the whole thing is hemp is the same as marijuana, I guess, and therefore it's illegal. And I think it is. It's grass, it's a weed, and the government is obsessed with making it illegal. It makes people go out and shoot and kill each other in order to get some of this. So you point out some of the other economic benefits, and I think making something illegal for no good reason whatsoever, certain things should be illegal. That is the use of force and participating in fraud. But to make things illegal for various reasons of making the economy or people better leads to nothing but more trouble.
Mr. Paul, you mentioned the IRS a moment ago, and I wanted to get a sense of your view about tax policy in broad brush strokes. Tell us what the Libertarian Party would do about taxes.
Well, we certainly wouldn't have an income tax. There's no need in a free society to have an income tax. The assumption by Libertarian and by our Constitution is that if you work, the fruits of your labor are yours. I mean, that's a basic assumption. The very little that you must give or participate in should be a minuscule amount of your income to protect your liberties, to run the court system, and to provide for a national defense. Up until 1913, we didn't have an income tax, and we didn't fight foreign wars, and we didn't inflate the economy, and we didn't have a welfare state, and we didn't have people living in the streets, and we didn't have people without medical care, we didn't have people corrupting the housing programs, so it was a lot different. So we don't want that size government. We want to do away with the income tax, and we want a sound currency, because the other way governments can tax a people is through just printing press money, and that of course dilutes the value of the money and takes away from real value. So to eliminate all taxes, you have to eliminate the Internal Revenue Service, and you also have to have a sound currency.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania, go ahead, you're next.
Yes, Dr. Paul.
Yes.
Lately, for the last 2 years, I was terminated from a company under false pretenses. And they said about going to your congressman and all the agencies, your unemployment compensation, such and such, and all these different agencies. I've literally contacted every one of those, and I've been fighting this battle for almost 2 years to try to get some kind of justice with this kind of system. And, well, you know what it's like. It's called the legal runaround, and I get absolutely nowhere. My boyfriend, on the other hand, was a Vietnam War veteran. He has still yet to see any of his benefits. And now they want to send these people from Kuwait. They're not going to get any of their benefits either. So all they're doing is filling the VA hospitals. It's really not going to amount to anything.
Well, I think you've made the point of the Libertarian that you can't trust government and you can't trust bureaucracies. They say they're going to do good things for you, and it doesn't work. Now, if somebody's been mistreated in a libertarian society with their employer and employee, and they've done it by misstatements or claims of fraud, and they're lying about things, that should all be handled locally where you can handle it and deal with it. But the fact that our government claims they're going to protect you and take care of you and settle all these disputes and provide you for all the good things of life, it's just nothing more than a political ploy for somebody to get reelected. And I think it's a good reason for you to consider our viewpoint that some of these agencies just shouldn't exist because they don't do what they are supposed to do.
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, go ahead. Let me try again. Go ahead, Myrtle Beach.
Hi. I've got two questions. What do you think about requiring books from the American Revolution in all high schools, like the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin or the works of Thomas Paine, like The Rights of Man, so the people will know what it means to be an American? And number two, could you explain the treasonous Marxist alcoholic dictators that pull the strings in our country, like the Rockefeller-controlled Trilateral Commission and Council of Foreign Relations?
Okay, first I wouldn't require people to read certain books. I mean, it would be nice if I, as a national leader, dictator in this country, would say, I will tell the students of this country what to read. We should work much more diligently for competition education, private education, where those who are unhappy with their schools can pick up and go down the street and find another school. And if they don't have the kind of books that you want, then find one that does. That would solve that problem. Now, you refer to who really pulls the strings, and for years now, it's been claimed by many, and there's pretty good evidence that those who are involved in the Trilateral Commission and the Council of Foreign Relations usually ends up in positions of power. And I believe this is true. This is, if you look at the Federal Reserve, if you look at key positions at the World Bank or the IMF, they all come from these groups. If you have national television on, you might see a big debate about the Far East crisis, and you have Brzezinski and Kissinger talking about how to do it. One says, don't invade today, invade tomorrow, and the other says don't invade immediately. And that's the only difference you find among the Rockefeller trilateralists. But I think this is an important point here, because I think money is involved here, power is involved, and oil is involved. The American people are loving this invasion, but they have to realize that we're fighting for the oil companies who are partners with the Arabs, who are dictators, who would boycott us in a minute if they get the chance. So it's power and oil, and those individuals who help formulate policy in these two groups certainly have a lot to say about our government.
In case you've just joined us, we're visiting with Ron Paul, who was the Libertarian candidate for president in 1988, also a former member of Congress from Texas. You were initially in the Republican Party?
Yes, and when I was in Congress, I was Republican.
When did you become a Libertarian?
Well, I probably was always a Libertarian. and there's a lot of Libertarians in the country who may still belong to another party. Of course, we're trying to get them over to our party, but there are a lot of frustrating things that keep that from happening. But I joined the party in 1987, the Libertarian Party. But the acceptance of the belief that government should be limited to protecting our liberty and accepting the notion that no individual has the right to initiate force. See, I'm very attracted to this nonviolent, non-initiation of force principle that we all accept. And I've accepted that principle a long time. So it's defense that you're permitted to do. We're not pacifists in the sense that we wouldn't defend ourselves, either as individuals or as a country. We should defend ourselves. But I guess as long as I can remember, I endorse those views.
Tucson, Arizona, you're next with your question or comment.
Yes, good afternoon. I want to thank you and C-SPAN for the fine work you've been doing. I have 4 major points that I would like to propose for a comment that I believe would get rid of at least 80% of the problems we have in this country. One is to follow the letter and spirit of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. 2 would be to get rid of victimless crime laws, which would save money on prosecution and incarceration and would generate taxes and new industries. Energy policy in terms of like a $15 per barrel approximately oil tax, where the imported oil, the tax revenue could go towards reducing the national debt, and the domestic oil tax could go towards renewable and alternative sources of energy, thereby generating many new jobs, helping the environment, and ensuring political and economic security in terms of energy. And the last point, I'm working towards a goal called DMZ 2000, which stands for Demilitarized Zone 2000, which the goal is for global verifiable demilitarization by the year 2000, to start off the new millennium in that way.
All right, caller, let me stop you there. You've got a number of points. Let's let our guest respond to some of them. Thank you.